In the fourth unit, that is instrumental methods of chemical analysis, we have this last topic, thermal analysis. We have previously seen spectral analysis and then chromatographic analysis. This is the last one, thermal analysis. In thermal analysis, we have mainly three types of techniques. One is thermogravimetric analysis, TGA. Second one is differential thermal analysis, DTA, which are written here. The third one is DSC, differential scanning calorimetry. We will look into one by one in details, but before that, we will understand why we should do thermal analysis on materials or chemicals. So, as we have been seeing, spectral analysis, chromatographic analysis, we have done on materials or chemicals. So, similarly, we can do thermal analysis on materials or chemicals. We will see why we should do it, and then we will follow it with different types of thermal analysis like TGA, DTA, DSC, and then we will conclude this topic and also the unit. So, thermal analysis, as it is written here, it's a branch of material science where properties of materials are studied as they change with temperature. So, as I have previously told, we will do thermal analysis on materials or chemicals to understand the properties of those materials or chemicals and to understand the properties when temperature changes. So, obviously, when you change temperature, there will be a change in the structure, morphology, or other properties of materials. So, when matter is heated, it definitely undergoes some physical or chemical changes. In everyday life, also, you can observe this one. When temperature or heat is supplied, when heat is supplied to a body, its temperature will rise. So that will change the properties of that particular body. Here, the bodies that we are studying are materials. The bodies that are of concern are materials. So we will understand why or how thermal analysis can assist us in understanding the physical properties or chemical properties of materials when those materials undergo change with temperature. The change will be in their structure, morphology, or other physical properties. And certain other chemical properties. So, the basic or most physical properties that can undergo a change when you subject a material to heat, the material can undergo a change in temperature. So, if you reduce the temperature of that material by extracting heat from that material, it will undergo some kind of change. If you supply heat to that material, which will increase the temperature of the material, this will induce some other changes. So the mostly studied physical changes are phase changes. You know what is a phase? Water has mostly three phases: gas, liquid, solid. Solid is ice. So when you heat ice, it will get converted to liquid. So this change of water from ice to its liquid form is a phase change. Similarly, when you boil water to higher temperature, like when it crosses 100 degrees Celsius temperature, the boiling water will get converted to steam or in gaseous form. This kind of change from liquid water to gaseous or steam water is also a phase change. So phase is a Uh, in water, it could be ice, which is solid, or liquid water, which is liquid phase, or gaseous phase, which is steam. So similarly, some other materials, like for example, if you heat hard metals also to extremely high temperatures, that metal will get melted and it will go into molten phase, molten state, liquidy like. So that kind of solid to liquid or molten stage change is also a phase change. So as you induce or as you supply heat to increase the temperature of a material, it may undergo phase change. And these phase changes could be like melting, vaporization, crystallization, transitions between crystal structures. For example, you may have studied FCC crystal structure, face-centered cubic, BCC crystal structure, body-centered cubic. So some materials could undergo this crystal structure change also from FCC to BCC or to HCP, hexagonal cubic phase. So remember HCP, hexagonal cubic phase. So that's a phase change, right? So crystallization, vaporization, melting, and also transitions between crystal structures and changes in microstructure in metal alloys and polymers. We have studied this microstructure, if you remember, in the class previously in the first 2 units. Corrosion, right? So every metal and alloy and polymer will have some microstructure. So when you increase the temperature of that particular material, its microstructure will change. And then volume change can also occur, like expansion and contraction. For example, in summer, you could see that your house door will not work properly because, I mean, in winter especially, the door may get stuck because of its, sorry, in summer, the door may get stuck because if it is a metal door, due to the heat in the summer, the metal will absorb heat from the atmosphere and that metal will expand, its volume will increase. So it's a kind of volume change. That's why the door stucks. And similarly, mechanical behavior changes will also occur. So as temperature increases in a material, its properties will change, like volume can change, phase can change, and all these changes can accumulate in the form of mechanical behavior change. So these are all the physical changes that thermal uh, analysis can be utilized to understand. There are certain chemical changes also that can be attributed to the increase in the temperature of a system, or in this case of a material. The chemical changes include formation of new products, oxidation, corrosion, decomposition, dehydration, chemisorption, and the like. We have seen what is chemisorption in my previous lectures. Probably during chromatographic techniques, I have taught you what is chemisorption. There are two types of adsorptions, chemisorption and physisorption. Chemisorption is a process in which chemical adsorption will occur. So a suitable material will go and sit on a substrate chemically. It will bond with the substrate chemically. That is chemisorption. So chemical changes like chemisorption, corrosion, we know what is corrosion, and oxidation, and formation of new products. When you increase temperature, formation of new products might be realized. So these are all the chemical changes that can be attributed to change in the temperature in those materials. So all these physical and chemical changes take place over a wide range of temperature. Don't think that when you do thermal analysis, it is just only increase in temperature. No. Thermal analysis will include both increase in temperature and also decrease in temperature. We will see this in details when we study those three types, DTA, TGA and DSC, in the following slides. I believe that till now you understood what happens to materials when temperature changes in them, what kind of physical changes can occur, what kind of chemical changes can occur. Why we should study materials and their changes, and their temperature changes and also their physical properties and chemical properties changes, which rely on change in the temperature. We need to study these materials and find out what happens when temperature in those materials changes, because we use these materials in different parts of the world, and in different parts of the world we have different temperatures. This also we have previously discussed in the class when I taught you in the classroom setup. Kuwait might have very high temperature, like it may touch 50 degrees Celsius, but Siberia, on the other hand, might have very, very low temperature. At some point of time in the year, it might reach almost below minus 50 degrees Celsius. So you see, on our earth, we have different regions where temperature is not constant. Based on the location of the region, temperatures vary. That is why we need to study materials and their behavior under temperature change. For example, tomorrow you set up a company. May not be possible tomorrow because of this COVID. But in future, if you set up a company which manufactures tires, for example, right, where you use all this Bunoise rubber and all. So these tires must be able to work properly in almost all the regions of the world. And to understand how to prepare those tires, you need to first study the materials that are used or utilized to prepare those tires, and thermally you need to test those tires, like the materials that are used for making these tires, how they behave under different temperature conditions. So that is just an example. There are many more such materials that are utilized in many more industries, automobile, aviation, many other industries, even cement industries. And properties of those materials that are dependent on changes in the temperature are very important. So those materials must be able to withstand wide range of temperatures from Arctic cold to tropical heat, and in corrosive environments, and in variable humidity. For example, Mumbai might be highly humid. Bhopal may not be that much humid. So humidity changes also occur depending on the regions. So the materials should be prepared in such a way that those materials can be utilized in every part of the world, wherever it is needed. And that is why we need to study properties of materials, and thermal properties of materials are much more important. So to study the thermal properties of materials, what to do? We need to use some instrumental methods or techniques to study the thermal properties of materials. And those instruments should be in such a way that the temperature changes must occur in that instrument, so that material subjected to that temperature change can be studied effectively. So After studying those materials in those instruments which use varying temperatures, we can obtain information which can be used to predict safe operating conditions for such products. So yeah, here also see a tire material. They have taken an example, tire material. So which type of tire material is best suitable for vehicles in extremely cold conditions and extremely hot climates? As I have previously said, Siberia is extremely cold. Kuwait or other such Arab countries are extremely hot. So even countries in Africa are also extremely hot. Countries that are near to equator are extremely hot. So you need to understand the materials properties, especially the thermal properties of those materials, so as to prepare those materials that can be employable in different parts of the world which have different kinds of atmospheres. As I have said, we have three different types of thermal analysis techniques: basic, TGA, thermogravimetric analysis; DTA, differential thermal analysis; DSC, differential scanning calorimetry. We will see TGA first, thermogravimetric analysis. TGA, thermogravimetric analysis, the name itself indicates thermo, which means there is a change in temperature. Gravimetry, metry means measurement. Gravi is related to weight of the sample or mass of the sample. So thermogravimetry means by varying temperature to the material, we can study weight of that material that varies with the change in temperature, and we can analyze it. So the name itself indicates what type of technique is this: thermogravimetric analysis. So basically, in principle, a material or a sample that is to be analyzed is taken and it is heated in a given environment at a controlled rate. So you can do systematic increase or decrease in temperature by systematically controlling the amount of heat supplied to the material under study. Mostly, the environment in which these materials are studied thermally consists of gas cylinders that are connected to the sample holder, which supply mostly nitrogen, argon, or such other inert gases, helium. Or if you want to study the material in some other way, you can do it under air, CO2, air, oxidizing environment, right? So those kinds of environments also you can study by supplying or by controlling what type of gas we are supplying to the material while studying it thermally. So when you supply heat to that material under this particular environment, there will be a change in the weight of the substance, and it is recorded as a function of temperature or time. So the temperature is increased at a constant rate for a known initial weight loss of the substance, weight of the substance. And the changes in weights are recorded as a function of temperature at different time interval. So this means we are taking the material in a sample holder and we are supplying heat at a constant rate. We are increasing the heat at a constant rate so that the material's temperature will also increase at a constant rate. And we will observe the changes in the weight or mass of the substance under study as a function of temperature or time. So we can plot the weight change against temperature, and this kind of a plot is called thermogravimetric curve or thermogram. So what we are doing essentially is we are supplying heat to the material so that the temperature of the material will increase systematically because we are supplying heat. So the temperature will increase at a constant rate, and we will study the weight, change in the weight of the material over temperature or over time. How can we study the change in weight? Because the substance that we are taking or the material that we are taking in a holder will be kept on a weighing machine. So the instrument is built in such a way that the material is kept on a weighing machine and heat is supplied to the material. That is the beauty of TGA. So this graph here is a typical thermogram, and this is a TGA curve for silver nitrate, AgNO3. So if you study the graph, the horizontal portion of the curve A to B in the graph here, A to B, there is no change in weight because it is a straight line, horizontal straight line. If you see on the y-axis, y-axis is weight loss. So what is the weight loss that is occurring in the substance or material because of the application of heat? And x-axis is temperature. So as you go on increasing temperature, what is happening after B? From B to C here, from B to C, there is a deep dip in the thermogravimetric curve. So this B to C indicates that there is a large weight change, which is weight loss here. So initially at A, the material's weight, let us assume that it is 100%, but from B to C, it has dropped to 50%. So at 473, right, on x-axis we can measure the temperature. So at 473 degree Celsius temperature, we have almost 50% of the material got lost. So this is the equation that indicates what has got lost. Silver nitrate got converted to silver, and NO2 and O2 gases are liberated. So this kind of a curve indicates there is a decomposition that starts at this particular temperature, which is here almost around 400, and by the time it reaches 608 temperature here, this one, the curve again goes horizontal, which means there won't be any other weight loss. So if you heat silver nitrate, it will get converted to silver, and nitrogen dioxide and oxygen gases will liberate from the silver nitrate. So that is how you can measure how silver nitrate can behave under thermal conditions, and you can measure this in TGA, thermogravimetric analysis.